3 years old. Died a toddler. They were only toddlers, small, innocent, and full of wonder, children who deserved a lifetime of laughter, learning, and dreams. They loved to run, to giggle, to reach for the sky with little hands that should have held pencils, not pain. But their stories were cut too short, lives stolen too soon by a world that should have protected them. Their laughter, once so bright, has been silenced too many times, leaving behind empty swings and unfinished dreams. Let us never forget these children, whose spirits deserve the chance to grow, to thrive, and to dance in the sun. May their memories guide us to build a future where every child can live in peace, where every heart is safe, and where every home is filled with laughter and love. Lana Washer, 3 years old. Sar Mohammed Khalil Asalayar, 3 years old. Mariam Ahmed Abdul Rauf Ul Halabi, 3 years old. Hamza Rami Nadola Lewar, 3 years old. Zainer Nasser Husni Musar, 3 years old. Yusef Mohammed Fahmi Ul Najah, 3 years old. Mohammed Ramadan Mohammed Kamal Ul Nunu, 3 years old. Maria Mohammed Arafat Ul Bartini, 3 years old. Beirut Mohammed Iyad Abu Shamala, 3 years old. Shard Munzir Mohammed Abu Saria, 3 years old. Sar Faraz Fahmi Ul Najah, 3 years old. Intizar Mohammed Sobi Samar, 3 years old. Mustafa Mohammed Mustafa Ul Lali, 3 years old. Reader Muawiyah Ahmed Kalar, 3 years old. Ali Amer Ali Zaku, 3 years old. Salah Ahmed Salah Ulajama, 3 years old. Munzir Mohammed Munir Abu Husaira, 3 years old. Lanar Mohammed Nasser Ul Samari, 3 years old. Ayar Ashraf Fathi Abu Jalala, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Medat Bad Ulawadi, 3 years old. Saiding Abdul Hadi Riyad Mutal, 3 years old. Sanad Khaled Adian Farajolar, 3 years old. Wizam Abdul Hadi Adel Dahir, 3 years old. Karam Musa Yusef Ul Hissi, 3 years old. Myrna Ahmed Louis Ul Manawi, 3 years old. Mariam Abdul Aziz Omar Faroner, 3 years old. Ruawar Salah Ul Din Muhammad Ul Dalo, 3 years old. Anas Muhannad Sami Aslim, 3 years old. Mariam Mardi Ashraf Barghath, 3 years old. Mariam Abdul Rahman Mayor Ul Matuk, 3 years old. Kareem Tarek Abdul Hakim Ul Matuk, 3 years old. Mohammed Nadol Mohammed Saleh Dardona, 3 years old. Islam Sameh Hani Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Eners Kabab Mohammed Nabil Ul Matuk, 3 years old. Amani Mohammed Abdul Rahim Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Abdullah Abdul Rahman Abdul Karim Ul Silk, 3 years old. Ali Mohammed Ali Ul Mubaid, 3 years old. Kareem Mohammed Khalil Arbu Al Aiz, 3 years old. Malik Ahmed Farwana, 3 years old. Aizul Hamdi Hikmat Gabn, 3 years old. Riyard Abdul Hamid Mohammed Sasu, 3 years old. Ghazal Jamal Muanatala, 3 years old. Ward Khalil Abdullah Arbu Hayar, 3 years old. Adam Nader Harbi Ul Halo, 3 years old. Zain Ahmed Abdul Aziz Arbu Ulkaz, 3 years old. Elul Mansur Fawad Ulu, 3 years old. Abdullah Osama Kader Arbu Shreha, 3 years old. Maria Hazafar Salah Arbu Sharkin, 3 years old. Zaid Adel Arni Ul Das, 3 years old. Mariam Wael Abdul Rahman Ul Kodari, 3 years old. Saward Mohammed Jowder, 3 years old. Mutazim Billar Raid Ahmed Kashku, 3 years old. Mohammed Maysara Mohammed Arbu Hisha, 3 years old. Farid Mohammed Farid Husaleh, 3 years old. Habiber Ahmed Hamdi Dalul, 3 years old. Jawd Abdul Halim Ezet Abdul Latif, 3 years old. Mohammed Abdul Rahim Omar Sharaf, 3 years old. Ahmed Raid Nabil Farat, 3 years old. Nur al-Din Hamza Omar Arbu Uder, 3 years old. Bassam Sameh Mohammed Ulsam Kari, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Deeb Abdullah Raifart Arbu Ulkams, 3 years old. Mahmoud Mohammed Hamdi Deeb, 3 years old. Sarah Saleh Ali Darwish, 3 years old. Samir Mohammed Omar Hegarzi, 3 years old. Ghazal Imad Ul Din Ismail Arbu Ul Kamzan, 3 years old. Shamamud Nasser Ul Din Arbu Namama, 3 years old. Nahid Abdul Rahman Nahid Ubaid, 3 years old. Ahmed Ibrahim Ahmed Ul Sawalehi, 3 years old. Raitul Musab Ezzedine Shalt, 3 years old. Sham Marwan Abdul Hakim Ul Mutawak, 3 years old. Abdullah Karim Abdullah Aliwar, 3 years old. Yusef Hammam Mustafa Arbu Tuhar, 3 years old. Farah Hazam Abdul Hamid Mahana, 3 years old. Eileen Amjad Ali Yang Arbu Yardar, 3 years old. Mahmoud Mayor Abdul Hakim Kahil, 3 years old. Keenan Ashraf Taysir Ul Habawi, 3 years old. Nader Amin Ahmed Abdul Muram, 3 years old. Omar Khamis Siddiqui Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Ahmed Mohammed Abd ul Hamid Ashu, 3 years old. Hassan Ibrahim Mohammed Hamad, 3 years old. Ibrahim Nail Bashi ul Ran, 3 years old. Rafif Ibrahim Khalid ul Laham, 3 years old. Ezzeddin Bashar Abd ul Rahman Norfal, 3 years old. Roser Mayor Mohammed Saeed Saad ul Din, 3 years old. Suar Tariq Farid ul Hajj, 3 years old. Zaki Bashir Jamil Ayed, 3 years old. Shafiq Ahmed Shafiq ul Farah, 3 years old. Sajida Ahmed Naif Ryan, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Mohammed Ibrahim ul Najah, 3 years old. Jumar Ibrahim Abdul Malik ul Ashi, 3 years old. Moz Sami Adnan ul Shami, 3 years old. Malik Shukri Ahmed Yusef ul Sheikh, 3 years old. Khalid Amr Khalid Hamad, 3 years old. Sham Khalid Yusef Arbukudair, 3 years old. Siraj Rumi Saber ul Hu, 3 years old. Mohammed Medat Zuhair ul Nabris, 3 years old. Sarah Jamal Nasser Ayed, 3 years old. Mohammed Horsam Mohammed Arbuyari, 3 years old. Nawal Hamadar Omar ul Mujaider, 3 years old. Rafif Haytham Omar Taleb, 3 years old. Anas Ahmed Zakaria Hania, 3 years old. Mahmoud Abu Hasira, 3 years old. Khamis Mohammed Khalid Abu Hijair, 3 years old. Mohammed Tamer Sabri ul Qadra, 3 years old. Yusuf Mohammed Ahmed ul Shayer, 3 years old. Hayar Ahmed Yusuf Arbukudair, 3 years old. Mohammed Shadi Hassan Hamad, 3 years old. Lareen Shadi Shadar ul Shayer, 3 years old. Kareem Abdullah Hamad, 3 years old. Tia Aisam Mahmood Katib, 3 years old. Kamal Mohammed Kamal Farajola, 3 years old. Mustafa Mohammed Nahil Al Othmani, 3 years old. Zain Sama Mohammed Al Mubashir, 3 years old. Malik Asem Ashraf Faroner, 3 years old. Kareem Mohammed Hosni Arbushara, 3 years old. Kinan Ramez Mahmoud Uldardasawi, 3 years old. Yusuf Hani Mohammed Uladrami, 3 years old. Mahmoud Ahmed Forzi Ul Ghoti, 3 years old. Bilal Ahmed Khalil Zarab, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Ahmed Marwan Arbutim, 3 years old. Osama Bilal Nafez Maghari, 3 years old. Mohammed Muhannad Mohammed Ul Sakar, 3 years old. Ulbara Mohammed Awad Arbulabdar, 3 years old. Suar Abdul Karim Khalid Harara, 3 years old. Yarman Zakaria Mata Ayed, 3 years old. Ward Mahmoud Ismail Harzala, 3 years old. Aisha Salah Ul Din Ismail Arbushnala, 3 years old. Mais Mahmoud Atir Arbu Hamudar, 3 years old. Abdullah Mohammed Hassan Ul Da Olsar, 3 years old. Janan Amma Yusuf Arbu Marlik, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Abdullah Fayak Mahmoud, 3 years old. Salma Faris Abdul Jabbar Ul Shanbari, 3 years old. Tala Mamen Kamal Kataif, 3 years old. Suhaib Mahmoud Mohammed Shana, 3 years old. Jahard Mohammed Jahard Jargan, 3 years old. Mohammed Ahmed Mohammed Hassan Arburabi, 3 years old. Tarki Musab Khalil Ul Ashka, 3 years old. Yusuf Ahmed Naif Ul Zarabi, 3 years old. Ez Ul Din Saeed Nabil Ul Layam, 3 years old. Habiber Ul Rahman Musab Basim Ul Kurd, 3 years old. Zaid Ahmed Jahard Arbu Jabara, 3 years old. Yahya Ezzeddin Mohammed Balusha, 3 years old. Rima Ahmed Samir Kanater, 3 years old. Iman Khalid Mahfuz Kashko, 3 years old. Amir Mohammed Ayman Ul Khatib, 3 years old. Sarah Mohammed Ali Abd Ul Hardi, 3 years old. Ali Mahmoud Khalil Ul Shayer, 3 years old. Hana Momen Mahmoud Ul Tala, 3 years old. Nagham Mahmoud Khalid Ahmed, 3 years old. Bilal Mahmoud Mohammed Ul Sududi, 3 years old. Ahmed Haytham Ibrahim Arbuadian, 3 years old. Maria Hamza Salamar Arbu Aziz, 3 years old. Kinsey Haytham Zaki Ul Wider, 3 years old. Athul Qais Abd Ul Karim Ul Zarani, 3 years old. Aisha Omar Mustafa Shahab, 3 years old. Kinan Abd Ul Latif Abd Ul Rahman Arbushar, 3 years old. Saif Ul Islam Zahir Salem Arbu Zarafar, 3 years old. Yazd Jabbar Noaman Harmeed, 3 years old. Nurar Musab Kamal Arbunaim, 3 years old. Asil Mohammed Mazin Sheldon, 3 years old. Salam Suleiman Jamal Arbu Ghazal, 3 years old. Fatima Asim Hassan Arbu Masama, 3 years old. Quasi Mohammed Allah Edin Ahmed, 3 years old. Gram Hassan Sami Akil, 3 years old. Siraj Ismail Yasef Khalifa, 3 years old. Lin Said Mahmoud Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Azad Tariq Mohammed Omagari, 3 years old. Mohammed Khalid Jamal Maghari, 3 years old. Myra Mahmood Tahsin Ahmed, 3 years old. Yusra Majid Mohammed Saleh, 3 years old. Ali Ismail Mahmood Olderoy, 3 years old. Hala Raid Ibrahim Olsawari, 3 years old. Jannat Tariq Zuhair Hamad, 3 years old. Halar Hassan Forzi Oberwab, 3 years old. Kinan Mohammed Salim Nabhan, 3 years old. Jahard Mohammed Ali Ulshamari, 3 years old. Yakab Ahmed Yakab Ayash, 3 years old. Muzab Mahmood Naif Arbushamala, 3 years old. Sanad Salah Uldin Hamdan Ul Najah, 3 years old. Ili Osama Mohammed Dabauer, 3 years old. Hosni Mohammed Hosni Muharrab, 3 years old. Noor Yusef Omar Sharaf, 3 years old. Mohammed Yusef Fayez Qasim, 3 years old. Adam Khaled Ashraf Ul Ashram, 3 years old. Jannat Allah Abd Ul Rahman Sami Ul Samner, 3 years old. Kareem Karam Mohammed Bakr, 3 years old. Sadra Sakar Yasser Abd Ul Aal, 3 years old. Mohammed Abdullah Ibrahim Gowder, 3 years old. Osama Jawdat Qamis Ul Najah, 3 years old. Thailand Ahmed Salah Tabasi, 3 years old. Mohammed Bilal Mohammed Arbu Al Amrain, 3 years old. Suhail Majid Suhail Ul Nahal, 3 years old. Mahmood Mohammed Mahmood Olderoy, 3 years old. Amjad Khaled Kamal Rashwan, 3 years old. Reader Ibrahim Mahmood Labd, 3 years old. Saleen Hassan Mohammed Mutta, 3 years old. Sham Hussein Mohammed Abu Hamd, 3 years old. Mahmood Fad Mahmood Bashir, 3 years old. Nura Ahmed Dib Radwan, 3 years old. Bison Osamar Salamar Hussein Ali, 3 years old. Bara Ashraf Siddiqui Ul Kardami, 3 years old. Mila Jabir Nahid Arbujiab, 3 years old. Makram Mustafa Ibrahim Ul Lakhtar, 3 years old. Munir Jahard Munir Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Deemar Jahard Hamd Arbu Waymar, 3 years old. Keenan Mohammed Ibrahim Darwish, 3 years old. Majd Mohammed Ismail Salah, 3 years old. Omar Islam Kader Musar, 3 years old. Forzi Mohammed Abdullah Ul Ajla, 3 years old. Dehad Majdi Taysir Arbu Shama, 3 years old. Suar Ahmed Riyad Arbu Zakar, 3 years old. Judy Asad Mayor Arbulashan, 3 years old. Masar Ahab Ul Din Khaled Awider, 3 years old. Noor Ul Din Ayad Abd Ul Hamid Musar, 3 years old. Ibrahim Mohammed Ibrahim Ul Jabari, 3 years old. Hayar Ahmed Saleh Hamd, 3 years old. Yarman Mohammed Ahmed Ul Ashkar, 3 years old. Yarman Mohammed Ahmed Ul Ashkar, 3 years old. Jana Rafat Hassan Labd, 3 years old. Sarah Bilal Mohammed Harsunar, 3 years old. Asad Hisham Asad Ul Bayuk, 3 years old. Mohammed Ayad Ibrahim Barakar, 3 years old. Mohammed Basil Abd Ul Azim Ul Hajj, 3 years old. Ayman Mahmood Ayman Ul Jayer, 3 years old. Malik Hisham Musar Ul Zanati, 3 years old. Ataf Raid Mohammed Ul Aryan, 3 years old. Ular Ahmed Mohammed Arbu Jarju, 3 years old. Zainab Ahmed Salamar Arbulashan, 3 years old. Kareem Abd Ul Kareem Kamal Dagmash, 3 years old. Lin Musab Adnan Kalab, 3 years old. Yusef Ayman Ahmed Ul Shanbari, 3 years old. Karam Hamd Khalid Ul Bayar, 3 years old. Sabar Abd Ul Rahman Mohammed Salier, 3 years old. Dalil Majid Ismail Arbu Shamala, 3 years old. Mohammed Rafat Saleh Shaluf, 3 years old. Mohammed Ahab Ziyad Ahmed, 3 years old. Milana Ayman Samia Musar, 3 years old. Dima Mohammed Ibrahim Arbu Alatar, 3 years old. Our Mohammed Ahmed Darwish, 3 years old. Chulain Mohammed Fariz Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Sham Khalil Abd Ul Hafiz Al Baghdadi, 3 years old. Sarah Saeed Jabir Arbu Huwaishal, 3 years old. Mohammed Haytham Nasser Arbu Udar, 3 years old. Hassan Hani Hassan Ben Said, 3 years old. Kanz Wizam Salah Ulalal, 3 years old. Misk Ul Khatam Ismail Awad Wisher, 3 years old. Akram Ayman Mohammed Ul Masri, 3 years old. Motaz Ahmed Marwan Ul Tabki, 3 years old. Ghazal Abdullah Ode Arbu Shahardar, 3 years old. Amira Mohammed Salim Ul Sawakar, 3 years old. Ryan Iham Nihad Ul Shora, 3 years old. Yarman Nadal Saleh Mishmish, 3 years old. Khaled Jasser Yasser Ul Kranawi, 3 years old. Sailar Sami Mohammed Al Baghdadi, 3 years old. Emjad Mohammed Hamdan Totar, 3 years old. Ahmed Basil Ramadan Abed, 3 years old. Ran Sameh Mohammed Abu Kusar, 3 years old. Siwa Mohammed Shochi Ul Raiz, 3 years old. Zaid Abd Ul Rahman Nazir Arbu Nazir, 3 years old. Ahmed Hamto Ahmed Ulsatari, 3 years old. Nader Abdul Rahman Nazar Aider, 3 years old. Maria Khaled Suhaila Bed, 3 years old. Hamza Shadi Atef Haliway, 3 years old. Sham Momen Salah Ul Nuazi, 3 years old. Hamzar Wael Ahmed Al Aisal, 3 years old. Riyad Mohammed Riyad Toter, 3 years old. Ali Mohammed Zakaria Al Aisal, 3 years old. Ahmed Amjad Majid Arbu Order, 3 years old. Shaban Ahmed Shaban Halasser, 3 years old. Saif Ul Din Saleh Abdullah Al Arkan, 3 years old. Mohammed Omar Nafaz Ulgal, 3 years old. Barar Tahir Amarshu, 3 years old. Omar Mohammed Khalil Arbu Hamad, 3 years old. Rieman Ul Mutazim Walid Ul Kukar, 3 years old. Malik Basim Hamdi Ul Jamal, 3 years old. Ahmed Mohammed Abdul Rahim Haidar, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Yusef Salah Ul Din Arbujad, 3 years old. Asem Magdi Mustafa Ali, 3 years old. Kareem Hussein Akram Ul Mali, 3 years old. Ez Ul Din Abdul Misbar Ul Kor, 3 years old. Malik Mohammed Sami Mutta, 3 years old. Hala Mohammed Yunus Ul Argar, 3 years old. Lin Abdul Rahman Ayush Ramadan, 3 years old. Omar Ahmed Nawaf Ul Najah, 3 years old. Samir Mohammed Samir Tamraz, 3 years old. Yarhia Mohammed Yarhia Jabber, 3 years old. Mohammed Hamdi Salem Salah, 3 years old. Dana Abdul Rahman Asad Ul Bariz, 3 years old. Dina Mohammed Ahmed Wafi, 3 years old. Hamzar Ahmed Farid Hamdan, 3 years old. Razan Adham Bashi Thabe, 3 years old. Lian Saeed Abdul Nasser Ul Tul, 3 years old. Nura Mohammed Ghanem Ul Jajer, 3 years old. Maria Mohammed Taysir Arbushmala, 3 years old. Salem Mayor Kader Hajarzi, 3 years old. Salmer Maysara Ayad Ul Sasak, 3 years old. Ubadar Ahmed Mohammed Ul Atter, 3 years old. Mohammed Haytham Mohammed Ul Nabahin, 3 years old. Nur Mohammed Saima Abdul Nabi, 3 years old. Diala Rani Mahmoud Muammar, 3 years old. Yusef Fathi Suleiman Ul Jarjawi, 3 years old. Ahmed Ibrahim Hassan Hamad, 3 years old. Leen Yassin Hisham Abdul Latif, 3 years old. Khalid Yahya Khalid Abu Hilal, 3 years old. Jawdi Muhammad Asad Abu Shokar, 3 years old. Mariam Amjad Majid Ulgal, 3 years old. Nuruddin Anwa Abdul Latif Fayad, 3 years old. Yasmin Arafat Harmeed Ul Urjani, 3 years old. Subi Abdullah Subi Hijazi, 3 years old. Hamd Darwish Hamd Arbu Katler, 3 years old. Minna Ala Mayor Khalid Arbu Ubaid, 3 years old. Banner Ismail Muhammad Ul Hussein, 3 years old. Ahmed Ismail Jumar Arbu Zurayan, 3 years old. Oday Ahmed Muhammad Al Aital, 3 years old. Yazin Ramez Muhammad Kashtar, 3 years old. Muhammad Ibrahim Radwan Ul Madani, 3 years old. Khaled Abdullah Wahid Ultabash, 3 years old. Zaid Amer Akram Murtajar, 3 years old. Ilya Alaye Muhammad Ul Khalidi, 3 years old. Muhammad Mahmoud Salim Ul Ghafri, 3 years old. Salim Ahmed Salman Ul Astal, 3 years old. Lina Mahmoud Muhammad Chinan, 3 years old. Nagham Raifat Omar Arbushab, 3 years old. Ayman Younes Atway Arbunamas, 3 years old. Juri Islam Omar Arbugali, 3 years old. Sabr Mahmoud Jamil Ul Khatib, 3 years old. Sham Ezzeddin Ziyad Yassin, 3 years old. Ahmed Mahmoud Ahmed Tabaisi, 3 years old. Mahmoud Ahmed Hamadeh Arbu Tohar, 3 years old. Osama Fawad Osama Eid, 3 years old. Malik Nabil Waji Ul Namnam, 3 years old. Lian Khalil Shorki Abed, 3 years old. Lara Ahmed Samir Arbu Shamala, 3 years old. Sanad Sakar Izzat Arbu Rukbar, 3 years old. Hoa Muhannad Abdul Qadir Alatar, 3 years old. Maryam Mayor Salah Othman, 3 years old. Fatima Ahmed Ziyad Salah, 3 years old. QASM Ahmed Riyad Arbuader, 3 years old. Nahid Muhammad Nahid Hanan, 3 years old. Swad Mahmoud Ahmed Ul Kurd, 3 years old. Yahya Hani Hassan Abu Nasser, 3 years old. Myra Othman Ayub Ulabadla, 3 years old. Newell Din Hamadar Ahmed Jargan, 3 years old. Zaina Sameh Khalil Weider, 3 years old. Ibtizam Noaman Suleiman Habash, 3 years old. Ahmed Rafat Mahmoud Ul Zain, 3 years old. Zaina Tarek Bassam Ul Ghafir, 3 years old. Dalil Narji Mohammed Quaider, 3 years old. Momen Amin Momen Ul Jara, 3 years old. Wisa Mohammed Eid Adwan, 3 years old. Mohammed Basman Sarkar, 3 years old. Mohammed Yasser Rafiq Abu Habib, 3 years old. Bayan Medat Abdul Fattah Deef, 3 years old. Tariq Ramadan Ahmed Darwish, 3 years old. Tamim Yahia Tamim Al Qudra, 3 years old. Kareem Mohammed Abdul Aziz Tamraz, 3 years old. Hamza Mohammed Nahid Al Fasihar, 3 years old. Fatima Sabri Fayez Al Qudra, 3 years old. Mohammed Arafat Omar Al Batniji, 3 years old. Balsam Omar Jamil Al Ziyanin, 3 years old. Shard Yasser Ahmed Abu Halhal, 3 years old. Mohammed Yahya Sami Al Jirani, 3 years old. Salma Ahmed Tawfiq Al Madhoun, 3 years old. Malik Ismail Rabi Harbub, 3 years old. Fardi Khalid Mohammed Al Bardawil, 3 years old. Mohammed Motaz Abaid Yarzin, 3 years old. Mariam Omar Suleiman Abu Giyad, 3 years old. Zainar Horsam Mahmoud Abu Al Karaya, 3 years old. Yazin Moz Hamad Hamad, 3 years old. Murnar Ali Mahmoud Kashtar, 3 years old. Nasser Kamis Nasser Ultarawi, 3 years old. Mohammed Yusef Mohammed Abu Shorish, 3 years old. Gala Hamza Mofid Hajazi, 3 years old. Zaindeen Anwar Musa Jabbar, 3 years old. Meram Hamad Jamal Salah, 3 years old. Fayez Mahmoud Fayez Al, 3 years old. Yunus Mohammed Yunus Abu Al Amrain, 3 years old. Adhamdia Mohammed Ul Kawarji, 3 years old. Amir Mohammed Jumar Doher, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Ahmed Isam Shawat, 3 years old. Ali Omar Musar Ul Katnani, 3 years old. Almataha Amer Al Mujaider, 3 years old. Layla said Atar Abu Safra, 3 years old. Feril Yusef Jibril Al Masri, 3 years old. Mohammed Adel Mohammed Musar, 3 years old. Mahmoud Rani Mahmoud Abu Sadr, 3 years old. Rana Tamer Mahmoud Saidam, 3 years old. Sali Jamal Salmi Ashtiwi, 3 years old. Iman Mohammed Hussein Ul Barti, 3 years old. Noha Ayad Said Ul Nafar, 3 years old. Aylar Ahmed Abd Ul Qadir Awad, 3 years old. Maria Jibril Abu Al Atar, 3 years old. Sham Ezzedine Saleh Abu Daruj, 3 years old. Jaud Mohammed Ayardar Ul Rifi, 3 years old. Baysan Mohammed Sami Ul Nawaz, 3 years old. Zain Mahmoud Tatu, 3 years old. Kareem Tarek Awad, 3 years old. Batal Mahmoud Dabarbish, 3 years old. Ahmed Hakim Mahmoud Ul Hilu, 3 years old. Samar Raid Mohammed Awad Kadura, 3 years old. Dalal Abd Ul Ilk Awad, 3 years old. Riyam Marwan Mohammed Ul Hawadri, 3 years old. Halar Abd Ul Salam Rizik Ul Warwi, 3 years old. Rabab Mahmoud Nafs Al Aidi, 3 years old. Bilal Yusef Kader Hijazi, 3 years old. Sham Mohammed Teza Zamlat, 3 years old. Mohammed Ibrahim Said Nasa, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Basha Abdul Rahman Nofal, 3 years old. Mariam Basil Suleiman Ul Kranawi, 3 years old. Zain Sad Mohammed Muslim, 3 years old. Isser Omar Isser Masoud, 3 years old. Tamim Mustafa Amin Nofal, 3 years old. Mohammed Mustafa Ismail Ghanem Jaror, 3 years old. Dalia Mohammed Faid Ul Sakarni, 3 years old. Mariam Ahmed Mahmoud Ulran, 3 years old. Amin Mohammed Amin Mata, 3 years old. Hamzar Allah Nasser Jargun, 3 years old. Yad Ahmed Amer Ul Mujaider, 3 years old. Bana Ayad Jamal Nasser, 3 years old. Zainer Mohammed Talal Ul Darshan, 3 years old. Hassan Moti Basim Ul Ghafir, 3 years old. Imard Allah Imard Allah Joel, 3 years old. Ahmed Jamal Adnan Ul Ray, 3 years old. Ahmed Kamis Ziad Ul Jazar, 3 years old. Amir Raid Mahmoud Ul Bach, 3 years old. Farah Mohammed Ahmed Abu Raban, 3 years old. Jannat Hamzar Sobi Ul Joel, 3 years old. Sajidar Mohammed Omar Abu Hartab, 3 years old. Mohammed Wasim Saima Rashid, 3 years old. Myra Mohammed Saeed Washer, 3 years old. Mohammed Hamzar Kamal Garban, 3 years old. Shamtarik Ziad Daman, 3 years old. Nur Mohammed Ayad Barzak, 3 years old. Mahmoud Horsam Mahmoud Hamad, 3 years old. Dia Saeed Ainan Tanbura, 3 years old. Ahmed Saeed Mohammed Ultala, 3 years old. Nasim Mohammed Ahmed Jarju, 3 years old. Zayan Azmi Mahmoud Abu Yadar, 3 years old. Razan Mohammed Ahmed Bulan, 3 years old. Jad Hazam Mohammed Ulbardawil, 3 years old. Adam Rizk Jumar Ulnahal, 3 years old. Yusef Forzi Zuhair Ulayam, 3 years old. Ahmed Mahmoud Nibal Mutta, 3 years old. Mohammed Tariq Ziad Arbuful, 3 years old. Amir Mahmoud Arbushawarib, 3 years old. Tariq Ismail Suleiman Oldirawi, 3 years old. Nezma Ayad Mutta Garban, 3 years old. Bilal Dafar Ahmed Arbu Younes, 3 years old. Halar Omar Falar Ul Gamri, 3 years old. Hassan Allah Hassan Spahi, 3 years old. Maria Othman Khalid 3 years old. Saad Sohaib Ul Karlout, 3 years old. Abdul Majid Eid Arbu Saman, 3 years old. Asil Yahya Ashraf Arbu Anzar, 3 years old. Omar Yasef Rizq Arbu Al Lail, 3 years old. Nawal Ahmed Majd Makat, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Basil Hisham Mashtahar, 3 years old. Omar Ahmed Omar Hathat, 3 years old. Joud Salem Bassam Bad, 3 years old. Sham Hisham Ul Jamasi, 3 years old. Manal Mohammed Majid Ul Sharafi, 3 years old. Hadil Adham Isar Arbu Zahar, 3 years old. Iham Mohammed Isar Arbu Zahar, 3 years old. Sharon Abdullah Mohammed Kanu, 3 years old. Alma Yassine Mokasha, 3 years old. Lama Yassine Mokasha, 3 years old. Suleiman Omar Suleiman Ul Agar, 3 years old. Abdul Karim Mohammed Abdul Karim Muslim, 3 years old. Yazan Hani Hamdan Jabbar, 3 years old. Hassan Ali Hassan Ul Nuwairi, 3 years old. Mohammed Nail Saeed Ul Sabani, 3 years old. Misk Mohammed Ismail Arbu Muslim, 3 years old. Lama Rumi Abdul Jabbar Ul Taybai, 3 years old. Amir Mustafa Yasef Ul Astal, 3 years old. Adam Yasser Abdul Halim Nofal, 3 years old. Sarah Salim Hashim Arbu Dallo, 3 years old. Malik Mahmoud Mohammed Ul Asarwi, 3 years old. Halima Louis Moeen Arbu Joa, 3 years old. Jori Nabil Mohammed Arbu Labdar, 3 years old. Mariam Tarek Mohammed Dahir, 3 years old. Osama Anas Osama Habib, 3 years old. Baraye Ayad Nasser Ul Absi, 3 years old. Joud Ul Riyad Ul Sharbais, 3 years old. Ahmed Wael Mohammed Ul, 3 years old. Mohammed Abdullah Mohammed Ul Nakala, 3 years old. Yarman Nadal Abdul Razak Ul Dabs, 3 years old. Rakaya Jahard Ahmed Kazarar, 3 years old. Raz Rashad Abdul Hay Shamlak, 3 years old. Kanan Mohammed Riyad Yuhar, 3 years old. Mahmoud Riyad Salah Yuhar, 3 years old. Siler Mohammed Mustafa Ul Shamali, 3 years old. Yasin Tazeen Moeen Ul Sharbais, 3 years old. Adam Abdul Rahim Fathi Awad, 3 years old. Fayez Anas Fayez Yuhar, 3 years old. Heber Yasef Mustafa Baghout, 3 years old. Mahmoud Ahmed Hassan Mikdad, 3 years old. Siler Mohammed Munir Ul Makadma, 3 years old. Anas Jalal Mutiye Hasuna, 3 years old. Kareem Fadl Mohammed Arburaz, 3 years old. Kareem Azadiafan Ul Sorhi, 3 years old. Yasef Saeed Mahmoud Ul Ziyabout, 3 years old. Kareem Ramez Ahmed Bulbul, 3 years old. Ibrahim Shaban Saeed Salmi, 3 years old. Salahuddin Rizq Salahuddin Raj, 3 years old. Ghazi Mohammed Ghazi Arbu Awad, 3 years old. Hassan Khalid Awad, 3 years old. Sama Hassan Suleiman Ul Muridi, 3 years old. Naya Ramdan Talal Ul Muzna, 3 years old. Asil Khalil Mohammed Ul Layam, 3 years old. Hala Rafat Abdul Qadir Abdul Hadi, 3 years old. Shard Mohuddin Ibrahim Huwaila, 3 years old. Yasef Abdullah Muslim Rayarti, 3 years old. Reem Ali Khalil Badwan, 3 years old. Maria Yunus Ul Karinawi, 3 years old. Mohammed Fardi Mohammed Hijazi, 3 years old. Ghazal Ahmed Ramzi Makat, 3 years old. Rania Mohammed Islam Jamal Zino, 3 years old. Celine Ahmed Yasef Arbu Jazar, 3 years old. Juri Jordat Ahmed Ul Maghribi, 3 years old. Layan Ali Hassan Abu Halima, 3 years old. Amina Ahmed Ziad Ul Hash, 3 years old. Areen Mohammed Hassan Nazman, 3 years old. Miskayman Abdul Rahman Muhizan, 3 years old. Sedra Islam Yasef Arbu Mwailik, 3 years old. Heber Mohammed Fakhri Ul Qasers, 3 years old. Juri Ramez Khalil Kenan, 3 years old. Mohammed Ahmed Sadi Salim, 3 years old. Rashad Yasef Rashad Abu Jazar, 3 years old. Mohammed Sohaib Mohammed Abu Sub, 3 years old. Malik Rajab Musar Al Khatib, 3 years old. Elena Mohammed Ismail Azli, 3 years old. Nura Horsam Fayez Abu Awad, 3 years old. Sar Wael Yasef Ul Saidawi, 3 years old. Sanar Khaled Talal Ul Basyoni, 3 years old. Yasef Bilal Ibrahim Tayer, 3 years old. Ilan Abdul Hadi Mishal Hamduna, 3 years old. Moses Ismail Abdul Fattah Arbul Jarjan, 3 years old. Tagreed Yasser Abdul Hakim Al Mutork, 3 years old. Bison Saad Ibrahim Abdul Rahman, 3 years old. Sham Imad Sabri Thari, 3 years old. Talib Bilal Mahmood Shahab, 3 years old. Farah Anwar Omar Zahar, 3 years old. Abdul Rahman Ahmed Jamal Uldin Arbuiter, 3 years old. Mohammed Ahmed Jamal Ul Sudabai, 3 years old. Omar Mohammed Omar Hassan Ul Sayed, 3 years old. Mustafa Ahmed Majid Radwan, 3 years old. Mohammed Mazin Yahya Ode, 3 years old. Ahmed Salah Ahmed Ul Qalaut, 3 years old. Sarah Mohammed Hamdi Ul Madhoun, 3 years old. Maria Mahmood Jamal Saad, 3 years old. Wafa Isser Amjad Ul Herthani, 3 years old. Munzir Mohammed Munzir Arbu Skyla, 3 years old. Isaac Hamza Isaac Ulalal, 3 years old. Elena Saeed Saleh Arbu Elish, 3 years old. Malik Ahmed Mohammed Khalifa, 3 years old. Ibrahim Walid Jamal Ul Suwerki, 3 years old. Dima Ahmed Saeed Arbu Hani, 3 years old. Raghad Ayad Sobi Ul Haj Salem, 3 years old. Mohammed Mohammed Khalil Narjam, 3 years old. Khalid Mahmood Khalid Ul Harazin, 3 years old. Amir Haytham Hamdan Arbu Labdar, 3 years old. Hassan Mohammed Hassan Abu Wafar, 3 years old. Taharni Shukri Abdelhafiz Barbak, 3 years old. Abdullah Jahard Hosni Arbu Hayer, 3 years old. Salama Mohammed Ramadan Sharab, 3 years old. Hamdi Moz Hamdi Kalak, 3 years old. Mohammed Abdulaziz Mohammed Arbu Gazar, 3 years old. Hamzar Horsam Manal Uldabaka, 3 years old. Mohammed Wasim Abdullah Arbu Aisha, 3 years old. Raitul Sami Jawad Ul Ajla, 3 years old. Ahmed Mohammed Farais Thabe, 3 years old. Tagreed Ahmed Omar Khalil, 3 years old. Abiziad Majid Arbu Sawiri, 3 years old. Caesar Mohammed Awad Orkal, 3 years old. Amira Shadi Mohammed Arbu Krais, 3 years old. Mohammed Ali Jamal Hamdan, 3 years old. Mohammed Raid Ali Olwan, 3 years old. Hayam Ali Saad Eldon Arbu Seder, 3 years old. Tala Abdul Qadir Atef Sabar, 3 years old. These are only the first 2,500 names, each one belonging to a child younger than 4 years old, tiny souls who should have been learning to talk, to laugh, to run barefoot through fields of possibility. Each name is a story left unfinished, a life stolen too soon by a world that failed to protect its most innocent. Behind every name is a pair of eyes that once shone with curiosity, a smile that brought light to a home, a giggle that made a family complete. Let these names remind us that every child deserves to be more than just a number. They deserve a childhood, a future, and a world that fights for their right to live in peace. May these 2,500 names be the call that wakes us up, and the promise that we will never stop demanding a safer, kinder world for every child.